Hi everyone, and welcome to the Stitch Sessions. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not new here, welcome. I'm Karen and I love all things crochet and all things crafty. So in today's video, what we're going to do is we're going to review the 12 Gifts of Crochet series that we've been working on throughout 2019. So a lot of people like to work on calendar blankets at the beginning of the new year. And I've decided to take a different twist on the yearly crochet project. So in 2019, I developed a series called the 12 Gifts of Crochet. So every month we try to stick to the theme of that month and come up with a crochet gift, which is perfect for planning your gifts ahead of time, birthdays, anniversaries, weddings, babies, all kinds of things. So in today's video, as we get a little closer to the end of the year, I thought it might be nice to do a quick little 2019 summary of all of our gifts of crochet. This will also lead me into letting you guys in on what we have planned for 2020. So stay tuned to the end of the video when I let you in on what we have planned for our series in 2020. So let's get started. January's gift of crochet was the Leaping Chains Cowl. And I had made another one which I had been commissioned to make, so I don't have that one. But I have this one here, and this was fantastic. I really loved making this. This took a little bit of extra patience because even though it was all chain stitches, we usually were working with 2 yarns at the same time. So we're gonna leave a link in the description box down below for all the tutorials to making these. With this one, I would say it's beginner friendly in the sense that all you need to know are basically chain stitches and single crochets. But you definitely need a little bit of extra patience because of the technique that's used. So maybe if you're super new, I would say wait a little while before you tackle this one, and this would maybe take the patience of a slightly more experienced crocheter. In any case, what I love about this particular cowl is that it does sit very snugly to the neck. And a lot of times if you're wearing a big bulky coat and you don't want to kind of stick a big bulky scarf, but you like to keep your neck warm, this is fantastic. I also made one for one of my dance teachers. As many of you know, I run a dance studio. So I made one of these for my dance teachers and he loved it because it was just the perfect size. It wasn't too bulky and it kept him nice and warm. Now, a little something about this, I used one of those Pantone skeins, the ones that come braided in the colorways of 4. They were super popular last year. And although the yarn is very soft and lovely, I myself, this is not a yarn review, but I wouldn't buy them again. I know a lot of them are on sale right now. The yarn is very splitty, and the fact that you have to unwind those, the braids and then reball them, it's just a lot of work. So that's in a nutshell, January's gift of crochet was the Leaping Chains Cowl. Great for quick little add-on gifts. I know with Christmas coming up, you guys are up for that. Okay, moving on to February. Oh, and by the way, you probably noticed I took my glasses off. I'm not ashamed to say that I have started needing readers now. So I know in some of my other tutorials I had some fun, colorful glasses, but I noticed that the glare of the light was hitting off the glasses. So that's why some clips I have glasses on and some I don't. So a little behind the scenes info for you. Okay, moving on to February's gift of crochet was the Bunny Draft Blocker. And this was really fun to make because it's very jovial but practical at the same time. Now, I actually ended up giving that one away because a girlfriend of mine saw me making it and just loved it. So we have a clip here for you of the Bunny Draft Blocker, and you should be able to see that we use the legs as the actual blockers to put in front of your window. In my case, I used it for a window, but you can certainly use it in front of a door. Maybe it's for a bedroom, a child's bedroom window, whatever the case may be. It worked out fantastic, and I definitely have to make myself another one. Now, what I used to stuff the legs, initially I thought I was just going to use regular stuffing, but I realized that it works best with a lot of weight in it. So I put a combination of, I cut up some old socks, as well as I had a lot of leftover glass rocks and beads. There was a time when putting fake flowers inside glass vases with glass beads was really, really in. And so I had a lot of these beads lying around. So something hit me and I thought, well, let me just stuff these legs with that. And in fact, it was the best thing I could have done, because the weight along with the sock material just was a really perfect combination for blocking those drafts around old windows. So that was February's Gift of Crochet, the Bunny Draft Blocker. Again, very beginner friendly stitches we used, but as always, when you have slightly larger projects, you just need a little bit of patience and some time management planning. So if you're planning on making it for someone else, definitely give yourself a lot of time to get it done. Okay, so now we're moving on to March. We're getting a little bit closer into spring. And March's Gift of Crochet was this spring bath mat, which I made for myself. And I have that right here. This was so fun to make. I mean, when don't I have fun making these projects? But this was extra super fun. I've already put this in the wash a few times because I just loved the color combination. So this is actually made, it's a bit longer, just like that. I wanted to make this bath mat for a couple of reasons. The main one is I couldn't find a bath mat long enough to fit, because I have a tiny bathroom, and I couldn't find one the perfect length. I want it to just kind of go end to end in front of the tub, and you either have 32 or 36. I think the largest was 42. And I needed like something weird, like a 44 or 46 inch length. That's what I was looking for. So I thought, why not just make one for yourself, right? So I found these great, beautiful colors. They're like the coral and the peaches and the whites, and it's cotton yarn. You can find these at Michael's or Walmart, and it's the Handicrafter cotton. And basically, it's just two large granny squares attached together. But what you'll notice is that these are solid squares. So instead of using the shell stitch, I just pretty much used double crochets for the whole thing. And of course, we'll have the link in the description box down below on the tutorial for this. And especially if you are interested in working on the square motifs, but in a solid fashion. So that was March's Gift of Crochet, the spring bath mat, and I use this all the time. And next we have April's Gift of Crochet, and I have to say we got the most views for this particular tutorial. We had just under 1,000 views, and the only other one that has surpassed it right now is our crochet Christmas stocking. And of course, now we're into December, so those views have gone up well over 1,000 views, for obvious reasons. But I don't have it. It is called the Bridal Shawl. And I had made that one as a bridal gift for a friend of mine whose daughter was getting married. So I don't have it on me, but I'm posting up some pictures now and a little bit of video of the recipient, and a few close-ups of the shawl itself. This was almost like a labor of love. I just fell in love with the design. It's, again, just using chain stitches. However, it's a 4 or 5 row repeat on this pattern. It was using the Flower of Life pattern. And although chains are very beginner-friendly stitches, super beginner-friendly, it sometimes takes a little bit of experience to look at a pattern that requires several rows to repeat. So for example, you do row 1 would be done in a specific way, row 2 would be done in a specific way, row 3, row 4, and then you would go back to row 1 and start repeating the process again. So for those of you that are a little newer, anytime you see a tutorial or you hear someone say, well, this pattern was a 4 row repeat or a 2 row repeat, What they mean is that you're going to have different things to do for each row for that number. So if it's a 4-row repeat, oh, it's a mouthful. You're going to have something to do differently for row 1, row 2, row 3, and row 4 before you go back to row 1 and start repeating again. So those types of patterns just simply take patience, interest. Some people aren't interested in doing things that complicated. I don't know if complicated is the word, just a little bit more intense. They need a little bit more study, but this project I was so excited to finish it and so excited to give it to the recipient, and she really, really loved it. It was the bridal shawl. And again, it was our most viewed tutorial, which brings me up to giving you a little hint on what we have coming up for you very soon. Remember, stick to the end of the video. Okay, let's move on to May. So for May's gift of crochet, we had the grab and go bag. And this would make a perfect gift for Mother's Day. Mother's Day is in May. And this was used a lot this summer. As the name suggests, it was just really easy to put over, grab and go, especially when I'm just doing lots of running around. I hate having to carry purses and things in my hands. And I just like having something where I can throw my keys and my phone in, and my wallet, of course. And so this was, again, trying to make them interesting, but yet fairly beginner-friendly projects. Basically single crochet stitches the whole way through. I had this leftover fabric ribbon from something I bought, and I incorporated it into the strap. So of course, all the links for these tutorials will be put down below, so you can check these out. Just a little foreshadowing for a crochet conversation that's coming up. We haven't posted one in a while, and sometimes it's just hard to nail guests down and schedule the time for the conversation. But this summer I had gone to visit my aunt in Maryland, and we had sat down and had a fantastic conversation about creativity and legacy. And what was really extra special about that conversation is that she is a clothing designer by trade. She grew up making clothes. My grandmother made clothes. She even had her own shop at one point. And she actually showed me how to stitch up my own lining. So that quick little how-to is also included in that conversation. That is coming up. We will be posting that somewhere before the end of this year. And we have a few videos that we're going to post kind of between Christmas and New Year's, because a lot of times there's a lot of downtime, a lot of time to have some relaxation, maybe pick up a work in progress and listen to some great conversation and crochet tips. And that's actually what I love to do. I love to watch other crochet channels, and sometimes I'm not even watching the specific tutorial. I might look at it for inspiration on a design that I might be working on, but a lot of times I just like to listen to their voices, and it makes me feel like I'm hanging out and crocheting with a friend. I don't know, does that sound weird? Does that sound weird? Maybe you do that with some of my tutorials, which I love. Part of the reason why I started this channel is to just kind of create a little outlet for myself and to gain some new crochet friends. Anyway, I digress. So the grab and go bag was the gift of crochet for May, and also a little teaser on a future crochet conversation that is going to be coming up shortly, where I'm shown how to put the lining inside this bag, even with the zipper. So cool. Okay, moving on to June. June, the sun was starting to shine a lot more. We were finally getting fantastic weather and lots of sun out there. So June's gift of crochet was the summer sun hat. And I kept this one for myself. And we made this hat starting from the top or the crown and worked our way out. And we basically used the double crochets is what we used. But what we did a lot is we worked in between the stitches and not actually through the stitches. And that's why it creates this really cool little zigzag effect. And some of you might think that this is also the V stitch, when in fact it's not the official V stitch, but because a lot of the times we were working in between the stitches, we were working in between the increases, it gave the same effect as the V stitch stitch. So that was the summer sun hat. I made it with a really short brim, and this was just the perfect amount because a lot of times I like to sit on the beach and read a little bit, and it just kind of was enough to shadow my eyes, because I also wear big sunglasses as well, without it being super floppy. I have another really fun hat that I like to wear that's got a big bow on it, super floppy, but a lot of times it kind of impedes my my eyesight. So that's why I wanted one with a short brim. And then a lot of times my little goddaughter, she fell asleep on the beach, and sometimes the umbrella kept blowing away. So this actually also fit perfectly over her head, and she's 3 years old, and it just kind of created a little bit of shade for her to sleep in. This is another fabulous one also for the gardener in your life, because again, it breathes, it's cotton material, so it breathes, it's got some eyelets through there so the air can get through it. Again, it's just enough to kind of cover over the eyes, give them some sun protection without being really cumbersome or too tight or too loose. I just found that this was a fantastic backyard gardening hat, as well as summer sun reading hat. So that was the June's Gift of Crochet, the summer sun hat. And now we are moving on to July's Gift of Crochet. And this was probably my next most viewed tutorial, with now it's sitting at just almost 1,000 views as well, and that was the beach bag. So this summer I really tried to do a lot of tutorials that were super summer focused, and in July we did this fabulous beach bag that I made for myself, and I just love it. I love the color combo. It is super huge. You can fit, I forget how many beach towels I said you can fit in here. Definitely at least 4. It's got an oval bottom, so we talked about how to create the oval shape. And but pretty much it was using mostly the half double crochet stitch. We did a little Tunisian crochet for the handle, which was really cool. And then there is another tutorial where I showed you guys how to do the starburst spike stitch, I think I called it. I've seen this stitch, well, this was a combination of a few different stitches I've seen out there, predominantly the spike stitch and then the shell. So I put the two together and called it the starburst stitch. And this was just, basically I had this much yellow yarn left and I wanted to find a way to use it up. So I came up with this little embellishment on this side. But yeah, a lot of you really love this beach bag. I noticed the views were just crazy on this, and it's super handy. It's really strong. It was made using, I think it's Bernat, the home deck yarn. And unfortunately, I think they're discontinuing it. I've seen it on clearance bins a lot. They didn't always have the most vast variety of colors, which I thought was unfortunate because I loved working with this material, especially if you're one that likes to do a lot of crochet bags. So we'll see what the future of the home deck yarn will be, if maybe they have something new coming out. Maybe you've seen something equivalent or better. Let me know. Leave me a comment. But in the meantime, I love this bag, and it's definitely not going anywhere. It's for me, and it's kind of like also super handy for other things. Like if I have big bulky things to carry, I grab this bag, and it's great. You know, some people use those IKEA bags. This is obviously not as big, but it kind of serves its similar purpose because it is so accommodating and so wide, and I can pretty much take everything to the beach except for maybe the kitchen sink. Maybe I could fit the kitchen sink in there. If you've got kids, lots of toys, super handy. This is July's Gift of Crochet, the beach bag, and the link will be in the description box down below. And now I know we're only in December, but if you're got a really busy life and maybe a little bit of a slower crocheter and you want to do one of these for summertime, get started now. That might be another great project to work on during some downtime in the holidays. Why not? All right, so in July, we gave you a beach bag. In August, we gave you the beach chair caddy. So I don't have it with me because as soon as I made it, my girlfriend said, I want that. So I've given it away as a gift, and appropriately, since it's August's gift of crochet. And I got this idea, I've seen other crochet caddies out there, but I forget where I was. I can't remember if it was HomeSense or maybe Canadian Tire. And I saw something, a similar idea made out of canvas, but it was a caddy for something else. And all of a sudden it just kind of dawned on me. Or was it when I was doing my balcony crochet nook makeover? Something dawned on me when I was sitting in a chair, and then I had seen a caddy of something else, either one of those behind the door caddies or something, and I put the two together and I thought, hey, that might make a cool little summer crochet project. Of course, used cotton yarn for that, because when you're on the beach, and by the way, that beach bag, I think it's partly polyester, the yarn. Again, it will say in the tutorial. For the beach bag, for the beach chair caddy, I did use completely the Handicrafter yarn. Again, when you're using stuff that's outside a lot, I try to use materials that are super easy to throw in the wash or even the dryer. So just be aware of things that are 100% acrylic. Some of them are dryable in the dryer, maybe tumble low or something. Some of them are not. So really read your labels on the yarn. And wool. Do not stick wool in the regular wash or the dryer for that matter. Quick little story. Many years ago, I was taking a trip to the UK for the first time, and some students of mine, dance students, they had given me this beautiful Irish wool scarf. And I wore this thing. This was the winter of 2010. And oddly enough, it was that winter where they had super crazy snowstorms. They closed down Heathrow, all that jazz. I was stuck in that. So I was there for 3 weeks. I wore that scarf everywhere. Absolutely adored it. It was gorgeous. It was this cream, 100% wool scarf. And it wasn't itchy, oddly enough, because I don't wear wool because of that reason. But I was so in love with it, adored it. Got back from my trip to the UK and thought, I've been wearing this thing every day for 3 weeks straight. I should throw it in the wash. Duh, do not, I repeat, do not ever do that. So I found that out the hard way because I'm a dodo. I didn't know that. I stuck it in the wash with, my other laundry, and this beautiful, maybe it was like 7-foot long scarf came out this big. Okay, I might be exaggerating. It was probably this big, but it was ruined. And what I didn't realize is that wool with, I think it's with hot temperature or and moisture, wool just felts. So what had happened is the agitation, I guess the temperature, along with the moisture, it felted the fibers together, and that's what causes it to shrink. I did think that I could stretch it out, but there was no saving it. So unfortunately for me, it was a one-time deal. I enjoyed it for 3 full weeks straight, and then I proceeded to ruin the scarf. So learn from my mistake. Do not throw wool in the wash. Okay, so that was a total sidebar onto August's gift of crochet. The beach chair caddy, I kind of totally digressed there. But this was so super handy. I made it so you could fit a book in the side as well as a drink, whether it's one of those refillable containers or a can of pop or something like that. And my girlfriend absolutely loved it, especially because she's got a little one, and a lot of times there's, juice boxes and stuff like that. And sometimes you're like trying to settle it in the sand so it doesn't tip over, all of that stuff. And by putting it on the caddy or in the caddy, it just secured it, and it was super, super convenient. So that was August's gift of crochet. Okay, moving on to September's gift of crochet. So it's getting to be fall. People are all thinking about going back to school. And so September's gift of crochet was the lunch bag tote. And if you notice, I monogrammed mine. So this, again, 100% cotton yarn for bags. I super like using this because it's strong and durable. It'll last through washes. So I made this design in this fashion. It's got more of a rectangular bottom, and that's because I was just using a lot of those cloth shopping bags. Sometimes you get when you buy phones or things like that, and they'll give you a reusable bag, but it was just, it wasn't quite wide enough. So sometimes I'm putting my Tupperware containers and it wouldn't sit quite flat. So I decided to make one much wider and have a decent depth with a little handle. And then I looked up how to create a monogram. Also, in this case, just using single crochets, again, keeping it super beginner friendly. And there goes my phone. Hold that thought. Okay, where were we? So I used single crochet stitches to create this monogram. And there is a tutorial on how to monogram items using the slip stitch method. And I did that on last year's crochet Christmas stocking. Again, I'll leave that linked in the description box down below. What I used to monogram this was using actual single crochet stitches embedded in the work itself. And I used a program called the Stitch Fiddle. Also leave a link down below. And what it does is it actually helps to create the graph you'll need to work on to create this. You don't actually need to monogram this. You can make the bag just with, I think I used, can't remember. Oh, I think I used the herringbone stitch in this. So you can make your bag super plain, although this is not plain because I used a variegated yarn, and I liked using the red and white because I had some left over from some July projects, which was like Canada Day type themes. So you can make yours plain, or you can add, stretch your crochet abilities a little bit by including a monogram. So that was September's gift of crochet, link down below. So October's gift of crochet was the all-around wreath. Where could I possibly have put that thing? Oh, and here it is behind me. You see, it's very simple in its formation. You do need to get a wreath ring that you can find at any craft store. And I simply used the single crochet method, believe it or not. It's just that we had to stretch the yarn over the frame. And the reason why I called it the all-around wreath is because I made it in such a way that it looked neutral enough that you could use it for Christmas. Like right now I added a couple little sprigs, and then I added the little Christmas hat ornament to it. Or I also used it for Halloween, and that's why these little gourds here, they were originally used, I have an orange one and a black one I made, so you can kind of really change up the wreath in for any theme that you like. You can do it for Valentine's Day, you can do it for babies. So that's why when I chose the color of the yarn, which is that fabulous, really, really bulky luxe yarn, I chose a really neutral color because I knew I kind of wanted it to be multi-seasonal. So that is why we called it the all-around wreath. And, aha, okay, I knew I had some of this left over. So it is called the Chunky Luxe Big Yarn, and it comes in a 300-gram ball. It's 32 yards or 29 meters. And so I've got some of it left over. So I didn't quite use a full skein of it. I'm pretty sure I only bought one. It's 300 grams. So that gave me, I believe that wreath, the frame is 10 inches. I think you can get them larger and even smaller as well. I think they come in 8, 10, and 12, if I'm not mistaken. And that's the diameter of the frame. So I've seen this yarn a lot at Michael's and places like that. And I always thought, what would I do with this? I don't really like the feel of it. It's kind of one of those yarns that gives me, the heebie-jeebies. It is made of 100% acrylic. It's just got, you know that feeling of like nails scratching on a chalkboard? Ugh, even right now I'm getting the heebie-jeebies. This type of yarn kind of has that similar feel for it. So I would never wear this. You might use this as a hat, but I would never wear this. But when it comes for home decor, I thought, it just dawned on me one day. I came across it, I'm like, aha, that's what I'm going to make with this. I had already known I wanted to do a wreath. So I thought this is the perfect material for it. This would also make for a great decorative pillow. Stay tuned for that. So it is 100% acrylic, and but it does say to hand wash cold, do not bleach, dry flat, do not iron, and do not dry clean. So that's another reason why I most likely would not use this for any type of garment. I would use this maybe for some home decor stuff. Okay, so that is the Chunky Luxe Big by Loops and Threads, in case you're wondering. Okay, we're almost there. We're on to November's gift of crochet. And that was the Butterscotch Babe Mittens. And I actually showed you several pair that I was making at the time, and I have none of them with me. So I had been commissioned to make one pair, and then the other pair somebody actually wanted to buy. So they're both gone, but they were really fun to make. Super great project if you've got a lot of little ones or little nieces and nephews that you want to make a quick little add-on gift to. Mittens are fantastic, and you know, kids are always dropping them and losing them, and I find it's much more economical to whip up a pair of mittens as opposed to constantly going back to the store to buy them. The pair that I had made in the video were adult size, but you can adjust them to child size as well, or any other size that you need. So I call them the Butterscotch Babe Mittens because the ones that I had made in the video were using this orange and a gray combo, and they just reminded me of butterscotch candy. So we'll leave a link in the description box down below. We also have a mittens playlist, I believe, where we show you how to make some fingerless gloves as well. And that was using the crossover stitch, and that was really pretty. I made that for a teenage girl. So a couple of tutorials already on the go there for mittens. And there's several different ways to create mittens as well. So those will also be some more tutorials coming your way. So November's gift of crochet was the Butterscotch Babe Mittens. And lastly, we have December's gift of crochet, which was the Winter Mint Scarf. And this was one of the last gift of crochet tutorials you've probably seen recently. It was it wasn't one of my favorites. They're all my favorites, but every new project is a new favorite. I loved working with this yarn. The green, the minty green, well, it's not really minty, but pepperminty, was actually a gifted yarn that was given to me, and it's Caron Simply Soft, and it's got this really lovely sheen to it, and it's just so silky and soft. And then I had some of this, I believe it's Bernat Premium White with the slight sparkle tinsel that runs through that. You find this around a lot closer to Christmas time. I just thought the color combo of the two was just divine. So it was using the corner to corner stitch or method, where we began the scarf in the corner and then worked our way up and then continued the length for as long as you liked. The other super proud thing that I like to show off about this scarf is that there is indeed a border on here, and I'm not sure if you can see that, but what's really cool about the border is that I maintained the color changes throughout the whole thing. So it took a bit of patience, but I think that's exactly what this particular pattern needed, was to maintain the color changes. So it didn't take too long, and once you understand the method of the corner to corner stitch, you can zoom along on this project super quick. Like today is was a week out from, a little over a week out from Christmas, you'd have plenty of time to get this done. It always depends on how quick of a stitcher you are and how tightly you stitch, etc. But yeah, so that was December's gift of crochet, which it was the winter mint scarf. And there you have it, guys. That was our series for 2019, the 12 gifts of crochet. Now, just a little teaser for what we have coming up for 2020. So again, instead of a calendar blanket, I like to do a different type of series for the year. So for 2020, we're going to be doing the Year of the Bride. And I actually have a friend of mine who will in fact be getting married in 2020. And I came across this idea a few months back about coming up with a crochet accessory or item that is bridal related. Now it could be groom related too, but I was just thinking more about the idea of the wedding as a theme itself. And so each month for 2020, we are going to come up with a bridal crochet item. And in fact, I've already started working on one. And that is what this, I'm going to give you a little sneak peek, this fabulous velvet yarn is going to be for our very first bridal item of 2020. And that will be in January. And so I'm using here the Bernat Baby Velvet by Yarnspirations, and I will let you know. So this is kind of a little teaser of the materials you're going to need to get started on this. This is a 300 gram ball or skein of yarn, and it is 100% polyester. It's a medium size 4-weight yarn, and it's just divine. It's super soft, it's lovely, and I can't wait to show you the project we are going to get you working on for the January bride in 2020. So that is our series coming up next year. Also, what we're going to be doing too is I generally like to introduce stitches by incorporating it into a project. So like you'll see it with some of the Gifts of Crochet. We introduced, a lot of them we used, you know, very beginner friendly stitches like the single crochet, the double crochet, the half double. And it's a great way, a great chance for you to practice those stitches. We also introduced things like increasing, decreasing your stitches. We talked about things like the herringbone stitch, which we used in our lunch bag tote, but I like to incorporate it in items that you can use it for. Now, sometimes people just want to create their own items. So what we're going to add also in 2020 is we're going to add a few little quick tutorials on the stitch themselves. So we still got a lot of cool items we're going to be working on in the new year, but we're also going to be adding some tutorials that are just strictly to show you the stitch on its own, how to understand the basic concept of that stitch so that you can actually adapt it to different items. So for example, some stitches you'll be introduced to with flat projects. There's one coming up shortly called the seed stitch, and a lot of times it's shown working on a flat project like a scarf or a blanket, but there is a slight difference in how to work the stitch in the round. So I am going to cover a couple of those topics by introducing some of the stitches and showing you how to work out the formula, I like to call it the formula, or the pattern of how you would work the stitch in a flat project or how you would work it in the round. So that's another addition to 2020, as long as a whole bunch of other things we've got planned for you. There's been several tutorials that I've been working on the go as well that just took a little bit more time. So hopefully in 2020, you're going to enjoy watching them. Some of them are garments, so we're going to be getting a little bit more ambitious. And actually one of the stitch combinations, I'll just show you the sneak peek here. It is a scarf, and it's using the posted technique. So front posts and back posts. And by just kind of varying how and when you use it, creates this really lovely, lovely texture. So we do have a tutorial coming up for you on that as well. So a few little sneak peeks for next year. I also wanted to say it has been my absolute pleasure to share my excitement over crochet and crafting in general with you guys. And it's been so lovely to meet so many new wonderful crochet friends. So we've got over 200 of you now that are subscribed and hanging out with me every week. And if you are new here and are interested in learning crochet, or maybe want to check out some new and different projects, or just like hanging out with a work in progress of your own while I stitch it up, don't forget to click that subscribe button, because I upload videos every Wednesday, and sometimes I upload a couple little bonus videos here and there, sometimes on a Monday or a Wednesday, or a Friday. So if you are subscribed, you will always know when I upload something new. And if you want to click that notification bell, then you'll really get notified as soon as the videos go live. It is always my pleasure to have you coming along. It's been fantastic in 2020. I look forward to more crochet fun with you guys in, oh my gosh. It has been a wonderful ride in 2019. And I'm looking forward to hanging out with you guys some more in 2020. So have a wonderful, beautiful Christmas and holiday season, whether you celebrate or not. Best wishes to all. Have a beautiful end of the year. And we have a couple more teasers coming up for you. Before the end of the year, we have another tutorial coming up, actually Christmas Day, believe it or not. Sometimes people just like a little something to tune into when they're coming down from the holiday hoopla. So Christmas fell on a Wednesday. We are uploading every Wednesday no matter what. So stay tuned for that, and a couple little add-ons before the end of the year. So guys, have a great day. Happy crocheting and take care.